Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John, and this video is going to be my top 10 films that me and the devs have seen since we bought our Limitless tickets a couple of months ago. So actually, tell a lie, we've been to see 11 movies since we got our Limitless tickets, and I tell you what, we have hammered it. Now for £15 a month, so that's £30 a month for the pair, we have just been caning it, and I do recommend this. If anybody's on the fence with getting a Limitless ticket, and you can just go crazy at the cinema like we have been, we've just been going here, there, and everywhere. It's been brilliant. So sometimes we'll go shopping in this place called Silverlink, which has the Odeon cinema. So we'll stop and have a Costa coffee, which is right next door to the Odeon. We'll say, right, what's on the cinema? Let's go and see a movie. So it's as simple as that. It's absolutely brilliant. And I don't know how they make some money out of the fact that we're going paying £15. Because some of these tickets that I go for, it'll cost us £26 to go and see that movie. Now that's us paying £30 for the full month. So we've got our money back on two. If you go, you get your money back on two times to the cinema for me. And so, yeah, I've got 10 here. Now, I'm saying I've got 10. I'm saying I tell a lie. We went to see 11. Now, this one would have never been in the top 10. And I did say to Deborah when we first started off on this voyage, I said, why don't we go and see if some movie gets panned and it's meant to be the worst movie that was ever made and everyone hates it? Why don't we go and see one like that just for a laugh? Now, we didn't know that this one was critically panned at the time. It had just come out, and Deborah went and saw it. We saw the trailer like a loads of times. We went to see other movies, and it did look good, the trailer. And I thought, yeah, it's got all the stars in it. Well, I like it. So she says, I really want to go and see that. So I went and go and see it in the IMAX. Now, you've got to pay an extra tenner to go and see it in the IMAX, but the screen's massive and it looks great. So, yes, of course, we watched Borderlands, didn't we? And I don't even know where to start with this movie. Well, first of all, I did see before we went there, I didn't tell Deborah this, that it was got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I thought, yeah, this sounds bad. But I thought we always go there with, it doesn't matter what anyone says about a movie, we'd never watch reviews before we go there. We go in with an open mind, and if we're, it might be one of the worst films that people are saying it's atrocious, it's trash, it's this, it's that. But if we like it, that's all that matters. And we go in with we're not judgmental at all. We just go in there to be entertained. And if a movie entertains us, that's half the bother. But Borderlands, I've, I must admit, well, the positives of Borderlands, watched on IMAX and it looked absolutely fantastic. Now, a lot of people say the effects aren't that good. Now, I thought the effects were okay. I thought the picture quality was amazing. I thought the setting and the sets were really good. I thought the costumes they were wearing, but on the most part, was really good, and I thought it looked fantastic. The sound in there was absolutely brilliant. So on those were the real benefits of it. But however, that's not much when you're sitting watching a movie and you think, right, oh, it looks good and it sounds good. You want everything else to be good, don't you? But I thought the biggest fault with Borderlands was that it just wasn't funny. Now, on the trailer, it did point out some funny bits, and you thought this is going to be a bit like kind of um, Guardians of the Galaxy type of humor, where it's a little bit, tongue-in-cheek humor and all that type of stuff. Well, if it was in there, I didn't get it. I totally just didn't laugh once at this. In fact, I did laugh at one bit. It was in the trailer where they go through that lake or that river or whatever, and they get all the water in the mouth. It's not water. That was quite funny, but I'd seen it about 15 times in the trailers I wanted to go and see, and I thought, well, that was all right. But that was the only time I actually physically, well, I didn't laugh, but okay, like that. And Deborah, I think she laughed maybe once or twice. So after the movie, I said to her, I said, what did you think of that? And she said, well, it was all right. And I said, well, it's been critically panned. And you know, and she says, well, she says, oh, why did we go then? I says, well, we went, we've done it. We've seen the worst film of this year by far. But on reflection, when I look at it, it seems a bit bad. It's because people must have worked hard on this movie. It did look as if someone had tried, like the set designers, all that type of thing. The actors were trying. Well, I think we're trying, but I don't know how if they've had the scripts cut or they've had some kind of tinkering with the studio has made this movie from a 15, a strong 15, to a kind of really PG 12A. In fact, it even shouldn't be that. It should have been a PG for me. It was atrocious, actually. It was a complete mess. I thought I don't mind if the storyline didn't make sense. It wasn't something I'm really bothered about. I can go past that. But the storyline was pretty much non-existent. The dialogue between the people was just awful. The characters were just really not likable. Kevin Hart, it was really funny. It wasn't funny. What's he called? Jack Black, who I think is brilliant. He played that robot thing, and he wasn't even funny. It didn't even sound like Jack Black. He wasn't funny at all. And the things that he was doing, because he was in all the movie all the time and everything he said, like the quips, just didn't get it for me. And I thought, how can he be so unfunny and how can it not sound like him? So I can't recommend this at all. In fact, I do say to people, if you think about going to see Borderlands, don't bother, because I know it's even stopped at the cinema now. It's going on streaming because it's just been that much of a flop. And I don't blame the actors. I don't blame even the director, Eli Roth, because it got taken out of his hands. I blame whoever's had this input to make this movie that could have been probably quite enjoyable into something that you come out of it scratching your head to think, what was all that about? Not meaning I was confused. I just thought somebody has really poured the life and soul into a movie, because they would have done. Special effects team and all the people who went to try and get this movie to be a good movie, and for whatever reason it's been destroyed, probably in the edit. I think it would be great if they did a proper edit and put all the bits back into it. Not that'll ever happen, because this movie has really cost them a fortune at this point, and they'll never get the money back on it. So it's a bit of a shame to sort of start off and saying this is the worst film you'll ever see at the cinema. Well, you can't say it now, probably. I don't advise anyone going seeing it. I don't advise anyone picking it up. I think it's a bit of a shame that it missed every single trick for me, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. So that's not even in the top 10. That's number 11. That's Borderlands. So anyway, on a more positive note, number 10 is The Fall Guy. Now, we are big fans of the two actors in here. I'm going to kind of blank on most of the names because I'm trying to get through this quite quickly, so I haven't got you for too long. Because I'm trying to think of the names. I'll probably take half an hour doing that. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. There you go. So we went in there, and like I say, with all these movies, we're not going any judgment. We're not saying, oh, well, the TV series was brilliant, so this has got to be such and such. We're just going in to say, are we getting enjoyment out of this? And we did really enjoy it. It was quite funny in places. The only thing I would say about it for me is I thought it was a little bit long. Now there is a super duper cut came out. Now I do know when we went to see it, there was bits in the trailers that wasn't in the movie, and we were saying, "Hang on, what happens when he said this to the policeman and it didn't like come across?" So these must have been for this longer cut. Now I will say on these ones, while I picked these up on physical media. Now this one, Fall Guy, I probably will to see the extended cut, but I'm not really rushing. I would have to see it dirt cheap, because it's not one I would watch a lot of times. It was enjoyable. It was a bit of there's some good set pieces in it. There's some great effects in it. The humor was pretty good. The story's a bit weird because it starts off. I thought these were going to be coming together and they were going to sort of like fall in love and they were going to go off, after having an adventure. But they start off where they're already fallen out way back when and they don't like each other, which was a bit weird because it didn't come across like that in the trailer. But anyway, I'm not taking anything away from it. It looks spectacular, and obviously the soundtrack was absolutely amazing. So number 10, that's The Fall Guy. At number 9 is Despicable Me 4. Now, me and the devs love these type of movies. We've got quite a few of them up there, and we think they're great. We've got all the other ones, and you just go in for a bit of a laugh. It was really good. It was really funny. It looks spectacular. These ones always look good on the big screen. This has got a good mixture of stuff that kids would enjoy and also the stuff that adults will get. So I think that's the best thing about it. It feels weird when you go into a movie like this. We're going to see all the Toy Stories, all that type of thing. Now, obviously, my son's up and gone, so we don't need to actually take him there. Wouldn't go to see a movie like that. But we used to. Now we just carried on that. So but there was quite a few adults sitting in there without kids. Would I pick Despicable Me up on physical? Yes, I would. I'll pick it on Blu-ray and it's sale, because I've got all the other ones and we really enjoy them. And every now and again, you just chuck them on and really good fun. I wouldn't have gone to see it at the cinema probably if I didn't have the Limitless ticket, but I'm really glad that we did because I had such a good time with it. So number 9, that's Despicable Me 4. At number 7 is A Quiet Place Day One. Now, we watched all the other ones. We haven't watched any of them in the cinema, and it was great to go and see this at the cinema. It's quite a good experience, the fact that this movie is so quiet. I think it's not as quiet as the other ones are, but you've got to be quiet in the cinema. And you really had to sort of just sit there watching this movie, and you were mindful of the fact that if you were like opening like sweets and that, you had to like do it when there was some noise on. And then when it got quiet, you had to just more or less sit there. It was a really weird experience. I know people have been to see the other two, and they said similar things about the fact that you hear a pin drop. But I think that's one of the best things about these type of movies, especially these movies, because it's literally silence through a large portion of the movie, and it's a good experience to have that at the cinema. But I thought the movie was really good. Now you can see it's like a standalone movie. I think would I pick it up on physical? Yes, I'd probably get it on Blu-ray. I've got the other ones on Blu-ray, so I'd probably just get that one with it. Probably get maybe in the 4K box set of the three of them if they're just going to make three. But yeah, really enjoyable movie, and it was really well acted. The storyline was excellent, and I could say that you could see it irrespective of the other ones. It didn't really pay too much mind to the other ones because obviously this is like a separate event, isn't it? The other ones take place quite a few days after, but really enjoyable. So at number seven, that's A Quiet Place, day one. At number six is Twisters. Now, me and the devs had seen Twister a long time ago. I didn't remember that story was actually about storm chasers in the original movie. I thought this was like a take on the fact of people getting uh, caught up in a twister, a hurricane, and they were. This was like a play on that, but it's actually the same people, but it's kind of updated to the fact they can get this stuff and they can shoot it into the middle of a tornado and they can stop it, and that's what they're trying to do. But I thought the movie was like it's a bit cheesy at times, but I didn't mind. It's like a good action flick. The soundtrack was great. The visual effects I thought were excellent, and the sound was just amazing, just going all over the place. And it's like it's a really is a popcorn movie. This one, talk about what you just go and popcorn, you just leave your brain at the door and just sit and enjoy the movie. That was one of the best ones like that, where you can just sit down and just say, right, I'm just here to be entertained, and I think I was. I thought the cast was brilliant. Don't forget, we saw the cast who were standing just in front of us when we went down to London the last time, and they were at the premiere. And obviously, right next door to them was Tom Cruise. You couldn't see him. I think he was probably in the cinema, but he actually was at the cinema when they were there, the three stars. So that was crazy to think we're that close to all of them and Tom Cruise, which is quite nuts. But yeah, highly recommended. I would say, would I get it on physical? I don't know about that. It's a movie that it's good to watch and we really enjoyed it. But I don't know about rewatchability. I probably, if I got it, it would have to be cheap and it would have to be quite a while in the future because I don't feel need to watch it anytime soon. But I really enjoyed it. So at number six, that's Twisters. And number five is Bar Boys Ride or Die. Now, me and the devs, especially Deborah, is a big fan of this series, and we watched. It was amazing how they came back after years to do the one that was in 2020. Can't remember what that was called, but we watched that. We actually watched the other three quite quickly after going and seeing Bad Boys Ride or Die because we saw it twice. So we watched that one, then we watched the other three, and then we watched the fourth one again. So that's the great thing about going on this Limitless. We thought, right, we probably wouldn't have paid that to go and see them twice. But the fact you've got these tickets, you go and see as many times as you want, even in the same day if you wanted to. So I said to Deborah, I think this was the first one that we saw more than once. And I said, I'm going to go and see this again. Now, we laughed out loud all the way through this movie. Martin Lawrence is absolutely brilliant. He's the star of the show for me. Will Smith is good. I just like their characters. Actually, going back to watch the first three, they were all good. They were all brilliant. This one for me is probably the best one. Now, the other ones are more iconic, you would say, the first two, especially the first one. But this one for me just was just so good. It was so good, funny. The the way that the sort of but the storyline is these days, the fact that they've all got these problems with the health and that. I think Martin Lawrence has got like a heart problem, and obviously Will Smith has got something to do with panic attacks. So it's great that they put that into this, and it does follow on from the other one, and it's just a good solid action film that's kind of it's a bit of a throwback as well because the stuff they're saying is quite near the mark, which is great actually. You don't want something to be curtailed because actually the first two movies were quite out there, and you want that to continue all the way through it. You don't want to take a kind of wokeism turn, which it hasn't done, which is brilliant. So would I get that in physical? Yeah, I was going to say something else there. Yes, definitely I would. I would get this. I'm going to get them all in 4K because it look and sound. I mean, these all look and sound spectacular. You're not going to get some at the cinema and think, well, that looks rubbish. You're obviously going to do that unless it's meant to look like that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really recommend it. Went to go and see it twice. So at number five, that's Bad Boys Ride or Die. At number four is Maxxine, the third part in a trilogy, the X trilogy. What a movie this was. When I originally went to go and see it, I had this vision that it had to top Pearl. Pearl was the best for me. And I thought, this is going to be even better. It's not better than Pearl, but when I look at it, I kind of put Pearl to one side. Pearl's more of a standalone movie. It's a prequel anyway, so you can kind of think of that as not really, it isn't this world, but really X and Maxxine are the ones that should be lumped together and leave Pearl on its own. Pearl's absolutely amazing. But I thought on hindsight, I was thinking, no, it's not as good as Pearl. So I was a little bit disappointed. But going back and thinking about it, I think this movie is absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to get it on physical. It's definitely a movie that needs to be. I don't know what, I keep saying this, I don't know what A24 are playing at in the UK. They just don't seem to have any care and attention when they're putting the stuff out. Because you know, you can get all these massive box sets in these great steel books anywhere else in the world. And it comes to us and we get like something an eco case with just a cover chucked on it. And you just think, is that it? I mean, this trilogy, one of the best trilogies for a long time. It should have had a lot more done with it in for packaging and big opening it and sending it across to the UK in steel books, box sets, all that type of thing. But I don't know if it is going to do that. But I've got to get this on 4K because it looked and the soundtrack was absolutely amazing. The first, when you see Maxine at the start, and she's having like an audition, and then she comes and she goes out and it starts with Sharp Dressed Man, ZZ Top, which I'm a big fan of that song, big fan of that album, Eliminator. Just bought it on vinyl the other day. It's brilliant, and you just think I'm in for a treat here. Now, I did think when I was watching it, I did think the last third of it, I was thinking, well, maybe it could have been a bit better, but I don't want to take anything away from it as a trilogy. It's just absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to buy that one in 4K if it ever comes out in 4K in the UK. But that's hopefully that's going to be rectified sometime in the future. So at number 4, that's Maxine. At number 3 is Furiosa. Now, my son is a massive fan. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Mad Max, and he's a huge fan of Mad Max. And he always goes online. He looks at all these things that are going to happen in the future. He knew about Furiosa a long time ago. So when it came out, he said to me, "Do you want to go and see it at the IMAX?" He paid me in, so I went to see it at the IMAX, and I'll tell you what, they're blown away. Now we were in the IMAX, and there wasn't that many people in. That was the first time. Now, when I go and talk about these movies, when I go and see them, sometimes you go in there and you're the only one in the cinema. We went to see Borderlands, right, which was literally a couple of days after it was out, maybe 2 days after it was out, if that. Went to see it in the IMAX, and we were the only people in the IMAX. And I went, this is crazy because the IMAX is huge, in that cinema. And so anyway, this Deborah looked on the app because you can look on the app and see how many people are going to be there because we were sitting on the side. So because of no one there, I went and sat right in the middle. We had the whole thing to ourselves and the feet up and everything like that. But this, when we looked on the app, there was meant to be a lot more, meant to be about 20 people there, and none of them turned up. Now we were thinking if they go and got Limitless and they didn't have to actually, because we could have, if we got the heads up, it was going to be awful. We could have had the chance to not go, but we wouldn't have done that because you would lose some money, wouldn't you? You'd lose £10. But I had to pay £5 each to get in, the upgrade. Which, yeah, wow. So they might have said, "I'm not going." It was weird because usually when you see the people where they're going to sit, them people would turn up. Not to sit in them places. But what we do is don't tell anyone. If we're in the cinema and you don't pay, you got to pay more to go in the posh seats. Well, actually, we prefer the normal seats. I think the posh ones are a little bit. I don't know. They're not as comfortable as the other ones, which is a bit nuts. But if we want to, we can go and sit there, and nobody says. Well, nobody cares less, really. Gone are the days of coming up with a torch and saying, "Oh, you're supposed to be there now, get lost." None of that's going on anymore. So yeah, I was going to say that Furiosa, unfortunately, didn't seem to click at the cinema, but it's an absolutely brilliant film, and I just couldn't get it because I was thinking, well, everything's here. It's a great story. We really enjoyed it. I said to Deborah, "You've got to go and see this," and Deborah says, "I won't go and see that." Anyway, we saw the trailer that many times when I go and see other films. She says, "I'm going to go and see that." So I says, "Well, make sure you do because it's a great movie. I've been to see it with Matthew." So we went to go and see it, and she was blown away by it. we have watched the other Mad Maxes now. So I said to her the other night when we finished off watching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, I says, what did you think? What's your favourite one out of the whole lot? The five. Is it five? Yeah. She says Furiosa and then Fury Road, and she likes the other ones. She did think, like I thought, that uh, Beyond Thunderdome was the least of the ones. In fact, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the last time. I hadn't seen it for years. But yeah, so it's funny to see these when they go at these big. I mean, Despicable Me was ram packed. Um, Another one I'm going to talk about was absolutely stuffed, but a lot of them there's hardly anybody in it. It's quite odd when you go in and think it should be bigger than it used to be. You know, you were fighting for seats at one time at the cinema, so that's a bit worrying, I suppose. So at number three, that's Furiosa. At number two is Longlegs. What a film that was. Now, I'm going to see it because Deborah wouldn't go and see anything like that. I think she would have been freaked out by it, mind. I don't think it's super scary, but it's creepy, and she would have not liked that at all, even though there's a bit of an FBI story in it, but kind of forget that. When they talk about FBI, I didn't know this, but it's meant to be a bit like Silence of the Lambs and also Seven. But apparently, the director, who's the son of Anthony Perkins from Psycho, can you believe it? I didn't know that. I think he wrote it as well. He is said that he just said that to get people in the cinema. Can you believe it? So yes, so Longlegs. So I went to go and see that by myself, and it was brilliant. I had such a good time with it, and the music was amazing. The air of it was amazing. The performances were unbelievable, and there was quite a few jump scares in it, and it was mainly to do with the music, but they were quite creepy. But if you have seen it, or if you're going to go and see it, I would advise you not to look at any of these bits where they say, tell you what's behind the movie, tell you like these little things that are behind in the screen. There's loads of things in this movie you would never think about. So I went and watched one of them, and Matthew did as well, about, what's like the things you missed in this movie, and there's tons of it. So it obviously, but I knew when I watched it the second time, I kind of picked up a lot more. I didn't pick all the stuff up, but I did pick up a lot more. And I thought, hang on a minute. So this movie there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I think the story is fantastic. And just the performances and Nicolas Cage, wow, honestly, it's just such a really good movie. And it's different as well. It felt like an independent movie. It felt like really like grindhousey, which was great to get this one. It's been a big hit. And when I went there, actually, the two times I've been there, it's been quite full. And actually, the last time I went to see it was quite late on when it was playing with Matthew, and it was still quite full, a lot more full. Because I said to Matthew, I said, "I can just sit where I want to be, no one in here, because it's been on for a couple of weeks." But we had to sit where we're supposed to sit because we couldn't move across. But yeah, so at number two, highly recommended. Will I be picking that up on physical? You bet. And Furiosa, I'll be getting that in 4K, and also Longlegs. So at number two, that's Longlegs. So at number one, and I think I missed a trick here, what I should have said was at number one is Borderlands. That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? Because people would have just went, what? I can't believe it. I would have played along for a couple of seconds. But of course, number one with a bullet. Well, Borderlands was number 11 with a bullet the other way. But number one with a bullet is, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine. What a movie this was. Now, my son wanted to go and see it, so we went to the IMAX. My son paid me into the IMAX and we watched it. And we saw it. We didn't have any of the spoilers. We didn't know anything that was going to go on. All I knew is that them two get together, seen the trailer, and that was it. Didn't know anything else about it. And we got all the things that happened to it, like wow moments. For me, I did say to Deborah when she went to see it after that, because she didn't want to go and see that. No, that's a bit too extreme. I said, have you seen Deadpool? She says, no, I don't want to go and see that. And of course, I'd said to her, I said, that's the best film I've seen for donkey's years. I said, I'm going to go and see it again. She says, well, what about me? I said, we don't want to go and see it. So, well, I want to go and see it now. I says, okay. So the short story is I've been to see it 3 times. Deborah's been to see it twice. And we are talking about going to see it one more time before it goes off the cinema. I mean, it's broke all the box office. It's just absolutely massive movie. Quite rightly, because it's so entertaining. Now, I think this is by far the best Deadpool movie. And I don't know what it's about Hugh Jackman, because I do appreciate the X-Men, and I do think that Wolverine was one of the best characters in X-Men. I've always thought that, even the comics. But I think that his performance in this was by far the best I've ever seen Wolverine. I know it's kind of all these shit. I'm not going to go into any spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. It's all these multi-universes, of course. So there's all that going on. But there's so much stuff behind this movie. It's just so, and there's nods to every single thing. The in jokes, they're looking at the cameras. He's slating Disney off all the time. The whole Fox thing. It's Disney v Fox, and you know how he's like having to go with Fox or Disney or X-Men or Marvel. It's absolutely brilliant. It just ticks all the boxes for me. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's got some of the most offensive stuff in it, kind of, but it doesn't matter. It's just so over the top, and that's what it needs to be. Like, I really hope they do something else. I hope this comes out on physical. Of course, I'm getting this day one, but I hope it comes out with some extra footage, some like a longer cut, because I would be right up for that. I don't know if they cut anything out or the holding things back. I don't know. I would love to see an extended cut like it did with Deadpool 2. So who knows? Will that see the light of day? I really hope it does. So yeah, so number one, with a view to go and see it one more time before it leaves the cinema. And maybe should we do that with Borderlands? Maybe not. It's weird when you get these two end of the obviously the we didn't really want to come and I don't really want to say, oh, I went to see this movie, it was absolute trash. I don't really want to be the person who starts doing stuff like that because I feel like when we go and see it, we usually are entertained by the movie. There's very few movies that we turn around and say that was just rubbish. In fact, there's hardly any. I don't think Borderlands is rubbish, but I think you could be really kind of sitting there through the whole movie, waiting for something to happen that you would be enjoying and thinking, is that it? When it finished, I thought. And it was after the credits, after Borderlands, which I went, you're sitting there going, right, it's been on. Usually you go, oh, what's happening? I mean, after the credits in Deadpool is brilliant. There's one right at the end, so we've stayed for the whole time to watch this end credit thing, which is brilliant. One of the best bits in the movie. With Borderlands, it's happening. You thought, right, I couldn't wait to get out of the cinema, and it's a big shame because people have worked hard on it, but it just massively missed the mark. Whereas Deadpool didn't, because they they did it and they just made a perfect movie for me. So anyway, that's what we've watched. That's the 11 that we've watched thus far in Limitless. And when I get another 10, the next 10 that we'll watch, going to see Alien Romulus tomorrow. So when I get the next 10, I'll do another 10 ranking of them. So in essence, I probably will pick up most of these, probably most of them, some of them day one, some of them in a sale, and some of them, maybe way down the line, probably in CEX for a quid. So thanks for watching. You take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.